Here are 10 rules that every watch collector must learn. In-house movement isn't everything. When I was at the beginning stages of my watch collecting journey, I was putting in-house movements on this almost like pedestal. In-house movements deserve a place above ETA or Sellita movements. But what I've learned that sometimes ETA and Sellita movements are actually the better choice for a watch. Also, in-house movements have to do more with the brand prestige and marketing than the actual quality. Don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic in-house movements, but in-house movements aren't everything. You don't have to own every watch. Now, this one was a bit tougher for me to learn. Again, when I started out in the watch collecting journey, I wanted to buy every cool watch, every watch that has any historical significance. Over the years, what I've learned that I don't actually have to own the watch to enjoy it. Perfect example of this is a Tag Heuer Monaco. I love this timepiece. I think it's absolutely iconic. And of course, it has those ties with Steve McQueen, one of the coolest dudes to walk planet Earth. But I don't have anymore the urge to purchase this watch. I can enjoy it for what it is from a distance. Doesn't mean that I don't like it. I love it, but I don't have to have it in my collection and on my wrist. The specs aren't everything. Or in other words, the specs alone don't tell a full story. Sometimes a watch would have an inferior crystal, like for example, Omega Speedmaster with their Hasselite crystals versus their sapphire crystals. I personally prefer the Hasselite crystal because it's closer to the original Moon watch. For daily use, there's no question sapphire crystal is better, and on paper, it just looks and sounds better. But specs aren't everything. They don't tell the full story. Another example of this is vintage watches. When you buy a vintage watch, it doesn't have the same specs as a modern watch. If you buy a 5-digit sub, it's inferior product to the current sub. But it has soul. It has something else. It has this X factor that you can't put down on paper, and you can't judge it just by looking at the specifications of the watch. Fast is slow and slow is smart. And no, I didn't make this up. I've heard it somewhere. I can't remember where. But basically what it means to me is don't buy every watch that you see. Don't try to fill up your collection quickly. Try to fill up your collection correctly. That was one of the big mistakes that I made early on. I was just trying to buy too many watches. I was just on this shopping spree. And why it was actually slower than buying right watches at the right time, because I had to sell these timepieces, sometimes for a loss. Sometimes selling a watch would take really long time, and I would have my money stuck or parked in this timepiece that I'm not really wearing and enjoying. I'm not regretting buying these watches, but it definitely slowed down my watch journey. So buying watches at a slower pace, really doing your research, really knowing what you're buying is the smarter approach. Try the watch on your wrist before buying it. Buying watches over internet is fantastic, but I would also recommend trying the same model on your wrist if possible. If let's say you're buying an Omega Seamaster on eBay or something like that, go to the store and try one on. See how it fits. Specs on paper, size on paper isn't telling a full story. Sometimes you put the watch on your wrist, and even though it has all the correct sizing specs on paper, on your wrist, it doesn't look right. It looks off. It might be too big, might be too small, might be too thick, might be too top heavy. You don't want to first commit to the watch and then try it on. Do it the other way around. Trust me. Step out of your comfort zone. As a watch collector, it's easy to get focused on a specific type of a watch or a specific style of a watch. For example, at some point I was really into chronograph timepieces. Other times there were specific watches that I wouldn't even consider. A perfect example of this is my Breitling Avenger 43. This watch wasn't on my radar. I didn't even think about it. I didn't research about this watch because it was something that was totally out of my comfort zone. However, now that I own one, it's one of my favorite watches to wear. It's just fantastic. And if I didn't step out of my comfort zone, I would have never learned about this fantastic timepiece. No one cares about what's on your wrist as much as you do. Now, this one is a big lesson. It's an important lesson to learn. It's similar to when you start working out, you think, oh my God, once I get these big muscles or whatever, everyone's gonna freak out and everyone's gonna respect me or whatever. And quickly you learn that's not the case. No one really cares about your big muscles, and no one really cares about what watch you're wearing on your wrist. Yes, there will be a few individuals that will notice your big muscles, probably at the gym. And yes, there will be a few individuals that will notice your cool watch, probably other watch nerds. But for the most part, wear what you like, wear what you enjoy, and don't expect people to notice it, because trust me, no one cares. And even other watch enthusiasts, watch individuals, watch nerds don't really care all that much. They might sound like they care, especially if you go on forums, but they don't really. They're gonna forget about what watch you're wearing in 5 minutes after you leave. Don't settle, you will still want your number one option. Again, a pretty big lesson here. Let's say you have your grail watch that you're saving up for, and another watch comes along, you buy that watch instead because saving up for your number one choice is too long or whatever. You say, hey, this one will fill that void. Guess what? It won't. You will spend a month or 2 months in a honeymoon stage, and then you will still want your number one choice. And it's just gonna set you back, you're not gonna be happy, and you will still want your number one choice. Happens all the time. If you want the Rolex GMT Master 2 and you buy the Tudor as a substitute, it's not gonna work. You will still want the Rolex GMT Master. Tudor is a great watch and it has its place. And if you want a Tudor, buy the Tudor. But if you want Rolex, save up for the Rolex, because Tudor is not gonna fill that void. There is no logic to watch collecting. It's watch collecting. It's emotional, it's a want and not a need. We don't need a watch on our wrist. We can easily tell time from other sources. It's a want. So there is no logic. Don't try to apply logic to your watch collection. Don't try to apply logic to other people's watch collections. Sure, you can be disciplined, you can be strict, you can have passion, you can have a direction that you're headed in your watch collecting journey, but don't try to have logic and don't try to argue with other people because their choices don't logically make sense. None of it logically makes sense. Just enjoy it and don't stress over it too much. You will buy wrong watches, and it's not a big deal. We all do it. On our watch collecting journeys, we will all, and we have all bought the wrong watch, and we will continue buying wrong watches. It's just part of the deal. So relax into it. Don't rush your purchases. If you can save yourself some headache, try to save yourself some headache, but just know that wrong choices will be made and you will buy those wrong watches. That's it. That's the video. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what lesson I have missed. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this video, sort of a follow-up with your suggestions. Thanks for watching this video until the end. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next one.